So, as a Z philosophy, they want to enter the entire bouquet of channel. Uh, that's where Z Sports comes in. In fact, they acquired 10 Sports recently to get in the more channels.
As a businessman, why would you want to run a loss-making channel forever?
Because when they go for the advertisers, they give the entire package to them. So that's one of the reasons. So they have a lifestyle channel, they have a sports channel, they have a Hindi GC, regional GC. So they can lure in the advertisers and bring in, offer them a larger package.
Thank you. Start. Good morning, everyone. The company that we've been given is Z Entertainment Enterprises, code name Z. Based on our research, we have given a buy rating for Z with a close to 14% upside potential. So, what is the research behind these numbers? Our entire PPT is structured into three major parts. Starting with the macroeconomic factor analysis, we move on to E&M industry specific factors, then further we move on to Z specific factors. In a deep research on the macroeconomic factors yielded three major aspects. First being the Indian urbanization rate, second the TV penetration rate, and the changing demographics. In the urbanization front, India is in the past 20 years, India has urbanized 2 times faster than its population and 3 times as fast as the developed market growth. In fact, India's urbanization growth has been much faster compared to the emerging market peers. So we believe this has a direct impact on the E&M sector's ad revenues. Moving to the TV penetration rate, India stands at 61%, and a McKinsey report suggests that it can go up to 70% by FY16. In fact, this current TV penetration rate is much lower to the comparable emerging market countries also. This again we believe will directly, positively contribute to the subscription revenue, which will obviously flow down to the ad revenues also. So, finally, in the macroeconomic analysis, we have changing demographics. Over the past 20 years, India has seen a huge shift of Indian masses from poor class to consumer class. This indicates a lot of hike in spending, increase in personal disposable income, and this again indicates a huge increase in ad revenues. Going to the second leg of our presentation, we have E&M industry factor specific analysis. Any E&M, when we discuss about the industry, the biggest factor that we have to note in is the digitalization aspect. Before going into digitalization, let's have a look at the value chain analysis of television media. The components here represent various factors, various elements present in the value chain, and the arrow moving on the forward is the direction in which the content flows, and the arrow moving the backwards direction in which the revenue flows. After analyzing the value chain, we realize the biggest problem in the value chain is in this particular link, the LCO unlock subscribers. What is the problem? Basically, LCOs right now, it's widely reported that there is no transparency in this particular link from the broadcaster's point of view, and it is widely reported that LCOs underreport the revenue that they receive from analog subscribers. So what is digitalization going to do in this front? Digitalization is basically a drive from TRAI which mandates every analog subscriber to convert to digital subscribers. So this is a huge benefit for subscribers because right now there are 58 million analog subscribers, which represents 46% of the total pie. So digitalization is planned over four phases, of which almost 2 phases is complete, and we expect digitalization to entirely get completed and take benefit for Z by year FY15, FY16. So realizing the kind of benefit that digitalization can offer for Z, we developed a proprietary model which calculated the effect of digitalization. This model indicated that the subscription revenue for Z will grow over a 5-year period at CAGR of 19%, and it's expected the subscription revenue is expected to grow from 43% of the total revenue pie to 50% of the total revenue pie, which is a very good thing for Z. So to continue on the various other industry specific factors, I invite Shyam.
Thank you, Prakash. Let's look at some more growth drivers for the sector. The E&M sector over the years has been growing at a phenomenal rate, and TV having a significant pie of it. The television sector is expected to grow at a CAGR of close to 18% over the next 5 years, and also Z's share of the TV revenues is constantly around 8%, which implies that as the sector grows, the Z is also expected to grow. Next, coming to recently there is a change in the transition rating mechanism from CPRP to CPT system. CPRP is based on GRPs and is based on relative viewership, whereas CPT is based on absolute numbers. Currently, the broadcasters are favorable towards CPT because those broadcasters having higher market share is expected to have a positive impact on their advertisement revenues. Although the short-term impact of it is unclear, in the long-term impact, we are bullish on the CPT system. Next, according to Figure KPMG, the HD panel sales is expected to grow at a CAGR of close to 35% for the next 5 years. HD subscription is going to give a fillip to the ARP of the sector, so which will directly have an impact on the subscription revenue of the company. Next, moving forward, having looked at the various industry-specific factors, we just look at the Zeal-specific factors. Having done a thorough financial analysis of the company, we found that the company has a strong liquidity, healthy returns, robust margins, and high operating cash flow, which implies steady cash flows. So the company is also a near zero debt company, which implies that company has a strong performance backed by healthy financials. Looking into the regional market share, Zee enjoys a significantly dominant market share in most of the markets that they exist, mainly the Zee Bangla, Zee Marathi, and Zee Kannada. So although which gives a fillip to its advertisement revenues in the near future, Zee also has a diversified portfolio of channels with the strategy of global expansion according to their mission statement, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. So these things is going to cater into a wide customer base. So now let me call upon Gunnar to talk about the corporate social responsibility and corporate governance.
Thank you, Shyam. Morning. Now we'll have a review of the corporate governance policy at Zee. The table here shows the board composition, and we can see that Zee adheres to 11 of the corporate governance recommendations given out by CFA Institute and OECD combined. Coming to the shareholding pattern, promoters hold 43% of shares in the company, while the FIAs hold 44% of shares. On the CSR arena, the company makes decent contribution to environment and employees perspective. While for the community part, the company works with these following organizations. The overall contribution of the company towards CSR is also above industry average. And for the next part, I'll invite Ankush.
Thank you, Mona. Good morning, judges and everybody. So far, we have looked at only the positive factors that are impacting Zee. So let us now look at some of the factors which are creating a negative sentiment about the valuation. So the first and the foremost is the highly competitive environment that exists in the industry. The number of channels have been increasing. The GRPs have been highly volatile, as can be seen there. And also the movie acquisition costs are going out of the roof, as can be seen by the 75 crore valuation that Sony paid for the Ekta Tiger. And also the persistent sports losses and the lack of impactful sports properties for Zee is a cause of concern. And also the domestic subscription growth has been declining, has been on a tapering off in recent years, but we expect digitalization to take care of it. Another important aspect that we came across during our analysis was that Zee depreciates its film rights on a straight-line basis, whereas Sun TV expenses it on the first telecast date, which makes more business sense. So in a way, it is an aggressive revenue recognition method, as it is understating its expenses. And also when we look at the PY ratio of Zee, it points to a overvaluation. So for the next part, I would like to invite Ankush.
Thank you, Ankush. Good morning, everyone. So having looked at the positives and negatives of the stock, now let us go through the valuation. So valuation we have done in two phases, DCF and relative valuation. The DCF valuation takes the following parameters and assumptions into account. We have used an FCFE model and an H model after 5 years with a terminal growth rate of 5%. We expect the EBITDA and PAT to grow at a CAGR of 20% over the next 5 years, and we have finally come out with a price of rupees 284 through DCF. Coming to relative valuation, in the absence of tier 1 competitors which were public, we had to resort to emerging economies. So these were the competitors that we selected for our relative valuation, and based on that, we came up with a price of 263 rupees. But we gave relative valuation only a weightage of 20%, mainly because of the uncertainty involved and the differences with the emerging economies with India, and the more the better understanding that has gone into the FCF method. So finally, we have arrived at a price of 279, which is also corroborated by a football field analysis. On October 21st, Zee came out with its Q2 results, and we had an analysis of that, and we found that their performance is pretty much in line with our estimates as well. Although the subscription revenue did disappoint us according to our estimates. Moving on to the risks, we have divided risks into 4 categories. So the first category is macro risk. So increasing FDI means increasing competition for Zee. So there's a threat that companies like Time Warner and Walt Disney could come and topple Zee over. The other factor is, and this could affect the revenues. The other fact is slowdown in DAS rollout. Now Dash has seen a slowdown in the past, and any more slowdown could be detrimental to their subscription revenue.